All right, so what can we really learn about this? Again, last year, I believe it was July last year, we saw the CrowdStrike outage. This time it's AWS. How fragile are our internet systems and how interdependent are they, in your view?
Yeah. The fragility, I think when there's outages like this, I think it highlights the necessary space that, or the necessary utility that cybersecurity provides to these massive players. What we've seen, not only with the CrowdStrike outage, but also other incidents that have occurred over time, is it ends up shining a light on the space. And if an outage for one doesn't necessarily mean bad news for everybody else, it tends to raise the tide, highlight awareness, and really, I think, shine a light on the space. It's kind of the case where bad news is good news and good news is good news.
All right. I mean, it sounds like a pretty good scenario where you win either way. When we're looking at the CrowdStrike outage from last year, it was about a $5 billion price tag put on that for Fortune 500 companies. I actually want to look at the other side of this. What do you see as the potential impact for Amazon and AWS? Could this be an inflection point where AWS sees a lot of customers leave and go to Google Cloud or Azure?
In the cloud space, it's becoming a very sticky source of revenue, for those cloud providers. It's expensive to move everything over from one network to another. So it remains to be seen, whether this ends up, costing AWS significantly. But, what we see, not just on the cloud, but also the data protecting that, these type of IT contracts, these are very sticky revenue sources. And so it isn't necessarily, it remains to be seen whether this is bad news for them.
All right. You say it's kind of good news on both sides of it. Could this potentially, this situation, even though it was not a cybersecurity incident, I want to make that clear, could it be good for cyber players and just kind of remind a lot of these companies that they need to really reinforce their systems, whether it's from a problem internally or externally?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think what we're seeing across the cybersecurity space is it's not just about protecting our country's borders from digital threats, but also internally, whether those are outages or even perceived threats in this case.
All right. So you hit on some of the stocks that are doing very well in the hack ETF that you manage. One of them, CyberArk. Now, of course, CyberArk's being acquired by Palo Alto Networks. So does that kind of change the landscape and make really Palo Alto Networks? A lot of people call it a blue chip cyber company, but does that just increase its market presence and, I guess, necessity when it comes to cybersecurity?
Absolutely. Yeah. And, if you like CyberArk as a standalone, and we have CyberArk and Palo Alto in our portfolio, we like the combination of those two. And I think, part of that combination is really integration, not just from front-end protection from a cybersecurity perspective, the defender at the gate, so to speak, but really integration across an entire company's tech stack and workflow, all the way up into the cloud, AI, and really the things that are driving a lot of the market today.
All right, Nate, I really appreciate the fact that you're a positive thinker. You're saying everybody could win in this scenario, but generally somebody is a loser. Are you sure it's not Amazon potentially losing market shares, or potentially another company that could be impacted by this outage or see their operations or business impacted in some way?
Yeah, there are players in the cybersecurity space that are perhaps less focused. It's hard to be a jack of all trades and good at all of them. And so, what we look at in our portfolio are really companies that are going to be focused on a high level of cybersecurity. We want companies with a high level of cybersecurity revenue purity is how we think about it. And so there are companies, Infosys, for example, they're a player in the cybersecurity space. Their stock is down year to date. And I think, that may be the case where they're spread a little too thin, not focused on necessarily being really, really good at one thing, like your CyberArks, CrowdStrikes, Palo Alto Networks.